Hello, everyone.
All right.
So, hello again. My name is Ilyas. In the background, you see the great geyser of Iceland, but I am not located there. I'm in Jersey City, New Jersey. I'm with Tourcom, the tour operator that organizes trips for World Affairs Council of Houston since 2007. We organize the trips based on the demand coming from World Affairs Council. And this time we will be talking about this trip to Iceland that will take place in June of 2022. Well, what I'm going to do is I will share my screen with you in a short while, and I will go over the itinerary. Not exactly, it may not be exactly the same order, in the same order, but I'll try to cover the itinerary, the details, and at the end, if you have any questions, please just ask us, and we'll try to answer as much as we can. The itinerary and other details, you can also find them on World Affairs Council's website. You can just go on walkhouston.org and the travel pages. Over there, you will see the lineup of all the tours that we have till the end of 2022. And you can download the itinerary. You can see the application form and prices and flight information, and they're all there. And this session is also being recorded, so that'll be uploaded there. This one and the other sessions for other trips, you can also watch them on the website if you haven't seen them before. So I will share my screen with you now. And so I believe now you can see the cover of our trip brochure to Iceland. Iceland, land of ice and fire. This is a 7-day, 5-night trip from June 18 to June 24th, 2022. Land of ice and fire, I'm sure you know the location and the geological characteristics of the country. Land of ice up north, close to the Arctic Circle with volcanoes. So let's have an overview. Here is a map of the region. This is North America, North Atlantic, Greenland here, and Iceland, this small island of about 40,000 square miles. That is more or less the size of Indiana or the state of Kentucky, with a population of about 370,000 people. So it's quite small, but it is an important country with its characteristics that we're going to talk about and see. So it is located, as I mentioned, up north, close to the Arctic Circle. So that determines its climate in general. And I have to mention that this trip in June, this is more or less the best time to visit this country, as it's going to be the middle of summer. Obviously in winter, well, it has its own charm, but not that easy to go and to visit the places that we are going to visit. So here, this is Iceland and a close-up map. We are going to visit the southwest part of the country. The islands in the inland, it is formed of a volcanic plateau with mountains, lava fields, glaciers, and glacial rivers, all of which we are going to see on this trip. And almost all the volcanoes are active, and it's possible to see the results of that on the spot. It is one of the wealthiest countries in the world due to its small population, but its resources and its high education. Its economy is, it depends on finance and biotechnology. Of course, fishing and agricultural production also is historically important. Now, the capital is Reykjavik here on the western coast. We will fly. This is the area that our trip covers, the southwestern part of the country, Reykjavik, and the area around the capital. As I mentioned, the population is about 370,000, about half of which is in the capital. We will fly into Reykjavik, and here is an overview of the capital. This is a small, low-rise city, but it is, as I said, it has the 50%, about 50% of the population. The first permanent settlement in on this island and in this area started in 9th century. Let's see another view here. There was no urban planning until 19th century. It was a trading town, and only after 19th century there was town planning and the city developed. So we will be here in June, as I said. Just we have to remember that when we go up north, the daytime and nighttime lengths are quite different from what we are accustomed to. So in summer, as we get closer to the poles, to the North Pole actually, in summer, the days will be longer, closer to 24 hours actually, 23 hours of daylight. And the remaining 1 hour, it's not completely dark, but it kind of, the sun goes down a little bit and the shadows get longer, and that's it. So during our time there in June, we will be almost completely in daylight throughout our stay. And summers are short, but as you see here in this photo, they are quite lively and they are quite attractive for locals as well as for the visitors. Everybody is outside and there are street fairs, street restaurants and cafes. So the daytime and nighttime life is quite lively and enjoyable. Here is another view of the harbor. Street art everywhere, modern or classic in various forms. So during our time there in Reykjavik, you will have plenty of leisure time, that you can walk around and explore the city and what it has to offer. So we'll be in Reykjavik, and all our 5 nights we'll stay in Reykjavik. That will be convenient in the sense that we won't have to, pack up every day and drive to a different place with our luggage and spend every night in a different spot. So we'll be spending all 5 nights in Reykjavik. On our first day, we are going to visit the National Museum, one of the main attractions in the city. It has a nice collection of local archaeological digs, archaeological findings, and also ethnographical material about the culture of Iceland. So we are going to visit this National Museum, after which we are going to visit the main cathedral. It is impossible not to see it. It's, the highest, the tallest structure in the city. It is in the city center, Hallgrímskirkja Cathedral, which was commissioned in 1937, and the construction took a couple of years. The main tower, belfry, is 244 feet high, and we are going to visit. This is here a nighttime view along the main street in Reykjavik. And here a close-up of the main structure, like a rocket ship, but the architectural style is supposed to depict the land formations, the volcanic and glacial land formations of Iceland from 1930s. So another location we are going to see will be this Perlan building, Perlan meaning pearl. So in this slide, in this photo, just, the pearl-like structure is quite attractive. Now we have to remember that all this volcanic activity going on underground, that the result of that is geothermal energy, hot water springs, which Icelandic people use for heating and hot water. The hot water is directed to the residential areas, so they don't have any boilers in their buildings, but they heat the buildings using the natural hot water. So this Parlam building is built on top of one of the natural hot water sources, and it is the bottom part. As you see, these are water tanks for the natural hot water, and the pearl structure is just, we'll climb up there from inside. Of course, it has a magnificent view of the city, a nice restaurant, and we'll have lunch there. So this is our arrival day program, more or less. Of course, we will walk around and explore the main landmarks of the capital. On our second day, we will drive up north a little bit to Borgarnes, a small town. We will talk about there in a moment. And then we will continue our way to a glacier. It will be a glacier excursion, Langjökull Glacier, and we'll talk about that in a short while too. So this Borgarnes, as you see here, this is a thin and long peninsula. This photo was taken from north facing south. Again, colorful houses. The importance of this location is what we are going to visit, the settlement center. Now, this was one of the main settlements when Norsemen from today's Norway, Scandinavia, they sailed up here at the beginning of 10th century and settled. So this museum was established in that same location, and we'll have an opportunity to visit and see the two exhibitions here. One of them is the settlement exhibition that gives information about the history of the origin, how the first settlers came, what their life conditions were, and we'll talk about all of these. And the second exhibition is about the sagas, the, well, half true, half mythological stories of the Icelandic people, how the initial settlers came from Scandinavia and what stories they brought with them, what histories they brought with them. So it is really interesting to hear about the Nordic mythology, the Icelandic version of that. And if you're following actually the news, recently, just almost every year they discover various settlements up north in Canada, right? Norsemen originating or coming out of today's Norway, settling in Iceland at first, from there hopping on to Greenland, and then from there hopping on to today's Newfoundland up north in Canada, and the first European settlers. So it is interesting, it's going to be interesting to connect the story of Iceland here, just in the middle of their exploration, just before they reached North American shores. From here, we will continue inland this time, seeing a number of waterfalls along the way. Now, waterfalls are, well, there are many waterfalls in the first place. They are not, the big giant waterfalls that, like Niagara or Victoria Falls, or others around the world. They are smaller in size, but the interesting thing is they are extensions of the glacial rivers. All those glaciers, one of which we're going to visit just after this, they pour their water into these rivers, and the volcanic land formations, flowing down the volcanic land formations, they form these beautiful waterfalls, a number of which we're going to see. Another interesting feature is landscape in Iceland is not fixed, is not constant. We have to remember that the whole island is a is in a continuous flux of volcanic activity, and the landscape changes, not every day maybe, but every year, every other year, whenever there's a big volcanic eruption that causes change of the landscape, and Icelandic people, they witness those changes. Recently, actually, recently meaning about 6 months ago, there was another big volcanic eruption, which changed some part of the southern part of the country quite significantly. So, depending on those the volcanic activities, and these geological formations change, and these waterfalls may change drastically, meaning if you visit the country, just 10 years from now, you may see different waterfalls, you may see the same waterfall in a different formation. So after this, we will continue going inland to the Langjökull Glacier. Here we see this white cap. This is the second largest glacier on the island, the first one being a little bit on the southeastern part of the country. And we will, here, this is, mark it here, and we will drive there. This is an aerial view of the glacier. It is really an otherworldly experience to drive up there and to walk on the glacier and to visit an ice cave. Now, of course, we will have our either bus or a van, depending on the size of the group, and neither the bus nor the van can go up here. So what we're going to do is we'll drive up to the base camp, where we're going to change to a big truck with huge wheels, snow ice wheels, that will take us to here, the glacier, and where we are going to walk into this man-made ice cave and get information about that, get information about the glacial formations. And we have to remember that these glaciers were there for tens of thousands of years. So when you dig into them, you see the layers. The bottom part, that is the oldest part of the glacier, going up, we see the more recent layers. And this is important, especially nowadays with the climate change. This is how scientists, dig into layers of ice to get information about the climate history of our Earth. So we will witness that, we will see the layers and get information about how the glaciers were formed and how the climate change now affects not only Iceland, but all the glaciers around the world and our world in general. So this is another view of the ice cave here. And of course, I have to just in parentheses remind that it is summer in Iceland, but we're close to the Arctic Circle and we are visiting a glacier. So we have to, bring some warm clothes and hiking boots. It's not like, visiting Europe or some other place, Mediterranean country. The weather is, except the glacier, of course, in the city, outside the city, is quite nice. But Iceland is known for um, sudden changes in its weather every hour, every day. Just we can have some short rain or strong winds. So we need to be prepared for those. Now, the next day, our visits will be to the Golden Circle, what is called the Golden Circle. It is, as you see, it's a straight line, more or less, on the map, right? We will visit a national park and again, driving inland, this time not up north towards the glacier, but a little bit to the south of that, to the Great Geysir and get information about the geothermal structure, geothermal resources of the country. So along the way, we will leave Reykjavik, drive to Thingvellir National Park. Let's first go there. Here is an overview, the aerial view of the Thingvellir National Park. Now, this is half marshland, half volcanic formation just by the lake. The importance of this um, location is twofold. One is because of its geological significance, and the other is because of its historic significance. Now, the historic thing first, that is, this is the location of the first Icelandic parliament, first Icelandic assembly. It goes back all the way to 930 AD. So it is considered to be one of the oldest national assemblies in the world. Of course, it had its disruptions along the way by invasions and wars, but still in the same location it continued. Of course, now it is in Reykjavik, but they have and they are proud of this assembly going all the way back to 10th century. So we will visit its location and get information about the historical, political formations and stories of the country. Now, the second geological thing is this national park is located in a rift valley. Now let's see another here. This is a totally wide, huge valley. This is the crest of the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, caused by the North American and Eurasian tectonic plates. Now, think of San Andreas Fault in California. That is this Rift Valley's western sister. So in San Andreas Fault, what we have is the Pacific tectonic plate going under the North American tectonic plate. They are, just bumping each other. Here on the Atlantic side, we have this rift with the North Atlantic, North American tectonic plate rubbing elbows with the Eurasian tectonic plate. And that is the cause of all this volcanic activity, more or less, and all the geological formations that we see in Iceland. So we will talk about all these geological formations and learn about how this bump of the tectonic plates affect the geography of this country, plus how it came to be in the history of our Earth. So, continuing from this national park, we will go east, more inland, to see along the way a number of other waterfalls. This is Gulfos, Golden Falls, one of the main waterfalls in Iceland. As you see, the water, again, another glacial river just pouring its water into this abyss over there. And we will end up here, the Great Geyser. Of course, geyser now is used for all these, we think of Yellowstone, obviously. But this is the original one. This is the original geyser, and the word itself is from Old Norse language, which means to gush. So the water gushes out. And this is, of course, hot water, water heated by the um, geological activities beneath the earth, the volcanic activities beneath the earth. So we will see that was one geyser, and this is another one, Strokkur geyser, which is the biggest one, spouting water up to 98 feet high. So we will see the geysers and get information again about their formation. And then we will drive back to Reykjavik, seeing a crater lake along the way. And our next day is for horses and music. Now, in the morning, we'll visit a horse farm just outside the capital, Reykjavik. As we see here, Icelandic horses, Iceland is famous for them. Now, the horses were brought by the Nordic settlers starting from 10th century. They brought the horses, of course, for transportation and for to use in agriculture, right? So to plow the fields, to carry their goods, and in this closed environment, the by inbreeding, this population of horses gained their characteristics, now known as Icelandic horses. They are a little bit small in size, but they are strong and friendly. And today they are still being used for, um, well, for touristic purposes, obviously. And in addition, partly for agricultural purposes and for riding. And just those of you, if you want to, test your riding skills, there is also that opportunity in this farm. This is for our morning, and in the afternoon, we will visit with a local singer artist, and we will hear Icelandic songs and stories, partly new, partly mythological. So it will be a good opportunity to meet with locals also. Sometimes it takes place in the house of a local artist or in a shared space. Just as time gets close, we will see what the exact location will be. So this is for our afternoon, and we'll have another night in Reykjavik. Now, our final day in Iceland will start with a whale watching expedition. Just this boat here, as you see, or a similar boat, we will sail out into the Atlantic. Now, this time of the year, um, this part of Iceland actually is along the whale migration route. In winter, they go down south to the hot waters um, of the Caribbean and Florida and Gulf of Mexico. And in winter, they go up north, some part along the American and Canadian coast, all the way up to, again, Newfoundland, and some swim up to Iceland. So we'll have an opportunity to see various kinds of whales, humpback whales. They are quite big in size. They grow up to 60 feet, more than 40 tons, or minke whales. They are kind of half the size, about 30 feet, and half the weight. And orcas and dolphins. So it'll be a morning of nature. Of course, just it'll be a good idea to bring binoculars to see, these sea mammals close up. Now, whale, of course, in Icelandic culture, as in North American culture of, starting with 17th, 18th centuries, whale hunting, that was one of the main activities. And Icelanders, they hunted whale for meat and also for its fat, for its flubber, right? For the oil that was used basically for oil lamps. So whale fat was the main fuel, not only for Iceland, but they would export it to Europe. So that was one of the main economic activities. And today, of course, whale hunting, it's not, well, yes, it goes on with, a couple of whales in Iceland and Japanese. They also continue with that, and Eskimo, they have that, right? But it's not, of course, a main economic activity that continues nowadays. So our morning is for this whale watching expedition. Here are a few other photos. And afternoon, the final afternoon of our trip is for relaxation. We'll visit the Blue Lagoon. It is a small lagoon of geothermal hot water, natural hot water. As you see, the beautiful blue water. This is just outside Reykjavik on the way to the airport. So this is fresh water and seawater. Just they mix underground all the way about more than 6,000 feet under the below the earth. They mix, and when people just drill to get water, it gushes out, and on the way it mixes with silica and a number of other minerals. And the silica, especially, that gives the lagoon its blue color under the sunlight. So that is why it's called Blue Lagoon, obviously. And the water, this is, of course, for leisure, for pleasure, but mainly this water is used in the geothermal power plants to produce electricity. So we will spend our afternoon in Blue Lagoon enjoying the natural spa and having drinks or food if you want. And we'll spend our final night in Reykjavik again, our 5th night, and then we'll fly back on the 24th of June. Now, let me just stop sharing my screen. Let's go back to our camera. So this is our trip to Iceland, and one of the main reasons, of course, to visit this country is its geology and its friendly people, of course, and its important history because of its location between Europe and North America. So it's served as a stepping stone for Europeans on the way to settling North Americas. So we will spend our 5 nights and days here. There will be plenty of leisure time, as I mentioned, in between these activities. So you'll have plenty of time to visit local art galleries, a few other museums if you like, and taste local food. A number of the meals are included in the program, and if you just download the brochure from the website, you will see a day-by-day itinerary and the included meals. Our hotel will be in the city center within walking distance of all the daytime, nighttime activities. So you'll be able to walk around freely. It's one of the safest countries in the world. As far as foods, well, Icelandic food, that is, of course, this is an island, so it's seafood, and also it's known for its lamb. Seafood in various forms. Just some of the items are in the cooked in the conventional styles that we know of, as stew or grilled or fried, but they also, smoke or salt or dry fish or various other sea produce. So they have their own fish pickles and kind of fermented fish. And as far as lamb is concerned, that's delicious, and various um, potatoes and root vegetables. So it's quite uh, interesting to explore the food scene also in Iceland. So this is going to be our trip. Now, if you have any questions, uh, I'll try to answer.
What is the COVID situation there in Iceland?
COVID situation, yes, that is, I can say, um, well, Iceland, first of all, is the first country that opened up. And they opened up last July, actually. The population is, as I said, just very small, 370,000 people. So everybody, well, I can't say everybody, but the majority of people have already been vaccinated. So the pandemic is under control. They have still a few cases going on, especially after they opened up. They saw a little spike at the beginning in August and September, but then just it went down all the way. So at the moment, they are totally open, but they still continue with the precautions, and they accept visitors only if they are vaccinated or if they have a proof of negative COVID test. So they, of course, have all these safety, go with the safety guidelines. And let's also remember that this tour will be in June of next year. So there's plenty of time. And this Delta variant is also now retreating. And we expect that by the beginning of next year, we will be just, in a much, much better situation, in a much, much better state as far as COVID is concerned.
I'm assuming there's some, I guess, access to medical facilities if somebody is sick or like somebody gets sick or something.
Definitely,
The medical care.
definitely. Just there are medical facilities, state of the art. I mean, that's a developed country, and just now that you mentioned, of course, not only for this trip but for all the trips, I would advise that you have medical insurance and medical evacuation insurance, just in case something happens. The cost will be or may be quite high depending on what can happen. So it is always a good idea to have a medical insurance on any trip. But again, the medical facilities over there are more than adequate. And since we'll be staying in the capital, Reykjavik, they have good hospitals there.
What is the currency there?
Corona, they have their own currency. They are a member of the European economic area, not quite, just they are a member of the European Union, but they are not a part of the common currency, euro. So they have their own currency, Corona. And you can use dollars, you can, use your credit card or debit card over there. There are ATMs and all the shops, they accept, common credit cards and debit cards. So it's never a problem.
And from what airport in the US did you fly directly into Reykjavik?
Your direct flights are from JFK and from Newark. Now from Houston, our suggested flights also go through that path. So they are also given in the brochure. Now the brochure is not in front of me, but if I remember correctly, fly from Houston to Newark to Reykjavik. So it's an overnight flight and you arrive there early in the morning.
And I guess the tour part is once we land in Reykjavik and then till the end we leave. So if we come in from somewhere else other than Houston, or if we want to stay longer, or if you want to come early, that's all.
Definitely,
fine.
that is possible. We can arrange for your, arrival or departure transfer. If you need extra hotel or other services, we can provide them. So you can just arrive early. If you come from a different city, that's also possible. Again, I need to remind you that, if you check the itinerary, the flight arrives early in the morning and the tour starts immediately. So if you plan to fly on the same day, but not exactly at the same time, that may be a problem.
Okay.
So if you, fly or arrive one day early, no problem. If you want to extend your stay, there are, especially if you are, physically active and like hiking, there are a bunch of things that can be done in Iceland, like visiting a volcano, visiting an extinct volcano, for example, and walking into those volcanic tubes where lava came out and it's now like a big tunnel. And like Jules Verne's novel Journey to the Center of the Earth, right? Just going all the way down into the earth, or just hiking in the glaciers, or driving to the southern coast and visiting the coastal line over there, and bird watching. Puffins, for example, it's possible to see, depending on the time of the year, though, puffins along the southern coast. Normally, puffins are up north in the Falklands Island, up north. But there is a location along the southern coast that puffins come there to mate and to lay their eggs. So it's also possible to see them there. So there are various activities. If you want to extend your stay, it's possible to join those activities.
What is the mode of transportation? Do you have to rent a car, or is that how you get any, like if I were to do it on, before or something, how
Yes,
would you
before
get
or after, yes, rental car. But the important point is, what we arrange is we arrange car and hotel services together, giving you a map of locations along the way. Otherwise, it's very easy to miss those spots because there are no natural landmarks. Just you drive along the road, and it may be easy to miss the spot where you need to turn, make a right turn, left turn, and see a waterfall or the beach or the rock formations or the birds. So, and
Yeah.
also there are organized for bird watching, for example. It may not be possible to do it on your own. So you drive up to a point, and there we arrange for you to join a bird watching group that will take you, on a tractor trailer up into the marshes to, see the birds in their location. So, there are various things, but basically it is, yes, it's possible to do the combination of rent a car plus hotel accommodation if overnight is needed.
Okay.
Any other questions? Or
How many people are usually on the tour?
Well, World Affairs Council trips are generally small in size, 10 to 14. For this trip, we don't expect that it'll be more than that, actually, just 10, maybe 12. So that is one of the appealing parts of a World Affairs Council trip. And you know that fellow travelers are also members of World Affairs Council, so you share a common interest as far as the culture and politics of the country, learning the society or the place that you're in. In addition to that, there are other bonus meetings that I haven't mentioned. Depending on the meeting and depending on the country and destination and depending on the time of the year, World Affairs Council also arranges certain special meetings. On this trip, for example, we have this local artist meeting with her and listening to her music and that kind of thing. But in addition, we may be able to arrange meetings with a local professor or an NGO to get information about some social activity, some economic problem, or international relations. Those kinds of meetings we generally arrange when we get closer to the departure date, as it is difficult to arrange them far in advance, depending on the availability of the people. So those are also bonus meetings, and depending on the size of the group and depending on the destination, we also arrange them, since this is a special World Affairs Council trip.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sorry I have to
Sure.
another call here
Thanks
at 8
for
o'clock, but
joining. Yeah.
very informative, and I'll look at the brochure, and I'm sure have a lot more questions. So looks like a great trip.
Absolutely. Anytime. Just Maureen.
Yes,
Thank
just
you.
you can email me and let us know. Thank you for joining.
And do we have to sign, like, is there a deadline for signing up, or?
Well, the earlier the better. The reason is we know how many people will be on the trip, and we will adjust, our rooms and transportation and our local services accordingly. And what is more, you'll be able to get your airfares at a lower fare, right? As the time gets close, airfares will be more expensive. So there is that. There will be a deadline. Generally, the deadline is about 3 months before or 2.5 months before the trip. So there is still, a long time for that deadline. But again, even if you don't, purchase your ticket and everything, it is good to inform World Affairs Council about your intention to join and fill out the application form so that we know, approximately how many people will be on the trip, and we don't want to, have an excess number of people and make it too crowded.
Okay. Sounds like a very, I'm really excited to see all the, the pictures you show, the landscapes, and yeah, so I hope, I guess it's June 2022 is kind of like, okay, what else is coming down? So that's why I was like, okay, when do I have to decide by? So yeah, I hope to join on this trip, and thank you for all the information.
Great.
Yeah.
Sure.
And
Thank
if you
you very
have,
much for joining.
And if you have any other questions, you can definitely reach out to either one of us. I'm the one that sent you the email reminding you about the Zoom link, so you're more than welcome to reach out to me, and we work together. So it's very easy to get in contact with either one of us.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining.
And
Thanks.
good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.